Hi, this is Robert with Pioneer Smokehouses, and today we are going to do some smoked deviled eggs. So there's a lot of different processes that go on with deviled eggs. So we're going to start out here with lighting the Masterbuilt Digital 40-inch vertical smoker, and then we'll head in the house and we'll do some stuff with the eggs really quick to get it going, and then we'll put them in the smoker for a while, and then we'll mix them up. So I just wanted to let you know everything that's going on here. The recipes for everything will be in the description link, so to take you to the article. Now that article won't be posted on the day that the video releases. It'll be done on Monday morning. But hopefully that works good for you, and I will talk about what's going into it, so we won't leave you, hanging in the lurch. And if you comment, I'll give you the actual measurements. I'm not that particular. So anyway, so first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to show you a picture. I loaded the charcoal basket for the Masterbuilt just about a third of the way, but I didn't want to put the divider directly in the middle because I want to get more heat out of that. And then I started a half of a charcoal chimney, just enough to get it going real good and get this thing started, because I like to start fast. On the basket, I have one haystack in there, just enough to make sure that it really ignites really good. So then we're going to take a look here. We're going to be running at 325 degrees. So we need to make sure that we have this open, because when we're going above 300, we need to get full circulation. And that little piece there acts as a damper, so if we're going for a lower temperature, we flip that upside down and it closes off the main vent. So I'll go ahead and show you the basket that I just showed you the picture of a second ago, and can't really see much in there. So that picture, I'll pull that picture back up again here. And if you see, I put a few blocks of wood in there because I wanted to make sure that we got some good smoke in there. And these are solid blocks. So I'm just using the bags of Weber wood. This one happens to be pecan. I don't have any pecan on the Kingsford, but I would actually go for a stronger wood with the deviled eggs than the pecan. I would probably just go with mesquite or hickory for both. And mesquite is my second favorite, and pecan is my first. So then I'm gonna, so I went ahead and I set that basket in there, and I'm gonna just go ahead and pour these in there. Now that haystack lit right up, so you can see it there burning. If it didn't light up, I just happen to have a nice little torch here. This one works good as long as I'm not doing something for a long time, because you have to hold the button down to keep it going. If I'm going to do something for a long time, I use my old torch. It doesn't work quite as well as this one, but you don't have to hold the button down. So and you can see that going there. So I'm going to give it another minute here, and then I'm going to slide it in. So let's go ahead and just pause for a second, and then we'll be right back to it. So I went ahead and slid the tray in there, and the charcoal basket was lit, and I went ahead and moved a couple of the charcoals with my old trusty tongs here. Everyone else would throw these away, but they work great for charcoal. And I just moved them over to the right side, which is the starting side, and then it burns across. So it's going to take about 15 minutes for this to completely light up. So I'm going to go ahead and close the door. And then I'll go ahead and turn the power on. Select the temperature button and raise it to 325. You don't want to go above the temperature that you want. You can always raise it more, but you can't lower it. So If you're not sure, especially, you know, if the charcoal is packed really tight and there's a lot of it in there, you might want to actually start a little bit under on this model because it tends to go past it and then try to come back down to it, and that takes a little bit of time. About 15 minutes, so we're gonna go ahead and go inside and get started on the eggs. We're in the kitchen now, and first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna show you a little bit about the equipment here while the water's getting ready. So what we have here is a double boiler pan. So what it is that you can buy these generic ones like this, and they'll have a basket, and then they'll have another pan that goes inside, and they'll have this one. The double boiler pan was smaller and I used it a lot and I actually damaged it. So it's gone, went to pan heaven. So you'll need that for the eggs. So we're gonna put the eggs in here, and then when it's done, they're gonna go in here and go into the smoker. Now you don't have to use one of these. The other option that I like is to take them and put them either on the bottom of one of these metal racks and just put them in your smoker, or you can even go like that and then put the whole thing in there. I don't like to put my pans in there. I find that it's really hard to clean them after they get smoke on them and use them for anything else like cookies or whatever. So we're heating up the water, and we filled the water up to where it just touched the bottom of the steamer pan. That's slightly more than we would use for like vegetables or something, because we don't want the vegetables getting wet, but with the eggs, that's okay. The whole point of this is to have the eggs go in there and be as hot as possible, as fast as possible, and not have a temperature drop. If you put the eggs in the water, even though the water's hot, you will have a temperature drop. But with steam, you can avoid that, which is also a good tip for your crab or even large clams that you would use for things like clam chowder. I know a lot of people take big clams and throw them in a pot with boiling water and rocks, and as soon as they crack, they take them out and clean them, and then they put them in their chowder. So next tip is for this recipe, we're using 8 eggs. You probably don't want the freshest eggs. If you're gonna make a large batch of deviled eggs or any egg that you're gonna peel, you should buy them about a week ahead of time and just leave them in your fridge. So I'm just gonna go ahead and set these eggs in the bottom of the basket. And they have been sitting out on the counter for about 10 minutes, so that way they just kind of take the chill off. They're not warm by any means, they're still cold, but you don't want them to be like 35 degrees. They'd be better off if they were up above 40 somewhere, because it means a quicker trip. So the whole point of what we're doing here is so that way we can get the eggs to peel easily. By doing this, they'll hit the temperature and then they'll pull away from the shell, and they'll be a lot easier to peel. Now, I'm going to go ahead and put this in there and set the temperature or the timer for 3 minutes. And they're just going to go just long enough to get that reaction to happen. And my favorite way to do hard-boiled eggs is actually in the sous vide, but not when I'm doing deviled eggs, because it doesn't peel as well. And you can also do them in the oven or do them completely in the smoker. If you do them in the smoker, you'll need to double this 3-minute time here, so it's an extra 6 minutes plus the 30 minutes that we're going to smoke them for. So the problem with that is that they're harder to peel. Now, if you're really careful and you're just good at peeling eggs, that might be a thing for you and you might be fine. But I always have them to where little chunks come off and then they just look terrible. So anyway, we're going to go ahead and run this for 3 minutes. We'll take a break and we'll be right back when the 3 minutes is up. We're just about there now. So I've got my my muffin pan ready. And there goes the timer. I'm going to turn the stove off, take off the lid off the pan, and boom. Just going to load these in the pan. Now, if you want to do a dozen, this pan will easily work for that. I'm going to pause the video and I'm going to run outside real quick. I didn't line the camera up much, but I wanted to get out here as fast as possible. So I'm going to just go ahead and open this up and put these in one of the upper shelves here. Now, there's no reason you can't just put those eggs right on the rack. It's just convenient to use it in the cupcake tray. So we're just a little under on the temperature. I'm going to go ahead and bump it a few degrees. And that'll get it to start blowing again. We're going to set a timer for 30 minutes and then we'll be right back. So we're back, and I want to show you that you can see that the smoke is just coming out really nice. We got about 10 seconds left on the timer. And we're going along really good. It's just catching the chunks of wood on fire to get that smoke going up in there, and that is perfect. So I'm going to go ahead and turn the temperature up to 400, which is the maximum on this smoker. And then I'm going to open this. Take this out real quick, seal it back up. And the reason I turned it up is because I want to burn all that fuel off, and I want to take the opportunity to get the smoker up to full temperature, because I just think that it stays cleaner and more well seasoned that way. So I'm going to pause the video and I'm going to run in the house real quick. I want to show you these, and they're white eggs, but they look all brown, and that's from all the smoke from the smoker. When you bake them in the oven, they get the little brown spots on them, but they don't get that whole brown coloring. So I have a bowl in the freezer. I'll set that right there. And then ice cold water. Always add the water to the bowl first. So then I'm just going to go ahead and put these in there. If you tilt the pan to the sideways, to the side just a little bit, your eggs won't rattle around while you're working with them. Not that that matters. So once the pan, this is full, then what you can do is two things. You can either add more cold water, or you can put in some ice or a glass of cold water right in the middle, and that'll raise the water up in the bowl. And then that way, once your eggs are floating, then that's as good as you can do. But you can kind of get ice on top, and the ice will kind of float up there with them if you want. I don't usually have ice in the house because, well, we don't have an ice maker because we're on a well. So anyway, we're going to set the timer again for 10 minutes. And we'll be back then. Okay, so the timer went off about a minute ago. And I'm just going to show you how I'm going to do this first one. And then after that, I'll go ahead and do the rest of them. So I take the egg and I'm going to roll it on the counter. So I'm just using a cutting board so you can see it here. Roll it around once. Then go to the middle and roll it and tap it around once. And then flip it around and do the same thing. By doing this, I've broken up the whole egg, and you can almost feel when you get to that last row, the whole shell is just coming apart. So then, when I grab it, I kind of grab it by the end, and usually the air bubble is on the non-pointy end, and you can see, there it is right there. And then I can just pick the pieces off real nice and easy. Just real gentle, just comes right off. It's still, you know, an egg. When you see this, once it starts going, it just comes right up like that. You can just give it a little bit of a push and slide your thumb across it. Watch that. And just like that. Now there's a few little bits of shell on there, but you'll want to rinse it in cold water and then set it aside, and then you can cut them all at once. So I'm going to do these and then we'll be right back. Well, I have deshelled all the eggs, and like I said, most of them had the dimple in the back on the flat side, so the pointy side was not, except for one. So all the rest of them are like that. You'll see that there's a little spot there. It's kind of like a little burn from where it sat down flat in the pan. So there's not a lot you can do about that. If you put them directly on the rack, you'll end up with two lines on there, which is fine. It's really not a big deal, and it doesn't taste bad or anything like that. There will be a texture difference. I'm just going to show you real quick here, and then I'm going to go ahead and do these. So first thing you'll do is you'll just take a knife, and I like to use the sharpest one that I have, and just run right down the center. And then once you've done that, if you just take the egg and you squeeze it, it just comes right out just like that. So when you do squeeze it, you don't want to squeeze it particularly hard. You just kind of give it a couple of light squeezes, and usually it'll just pop right out just like that. All right, so I'm going to do that, and then I'm going to mash them up with my fork, and then we'll be right back. We've mashed all this up, and I'm just going to show this to you real quick. And the more you mash it up and get it like fine, the easier it'll be to mix it for the rest of the stages. So now, before we do anything else, we're just going to throw in the vinegar, and when I pour it in, I'm not going to pour it in one spot. I'm going to move it around. That's 2 teaspoons on 8 eggs. Give it a light stir. I don't need it completely stirred in. I just don't want it to pocket up at all and end up, because once you get the moisture in there, it starts to lump up a little bit. Then, same thing with sugar. I have a tablespoon of sugar here for the 8 eggs, but I'm a little less than a tablespoon. I don't like to ever go over. If you're using Miracle Whip, it is a little sweetened, so you can use a little bit less. But in my recipe, it calls for mayonnaise, and that's because my wife likes mayonnaise. So then mix that in first, so we get all that stuff blended together before we add any of the other ingredients. All right, and I should have grabbed out the mayonnaise out of the refrigerator before, but we'll just get this going. So we're going to go with 6 tablespoons of mayonnaise for the 8 eggs, and I'm not going to measure them exactly, because you can measure them exactly if you're that worried about it. And that's it right there, 6 tablespoons. So I'm just going to give this a little stir. Now at this point, you could be done with this, and I'll stir it just a little bit more. But if you were going to add mustard or something like this, this would be the point to do that. I like a spicy mustard or horseradish mustard myself. And then with the regular eggs, I have the smoked paprika. So it's always got to be smoked. So I'm going to add 1 teaspoon of smoked paprika. And I'll lightly sprinkle some more on top for for garnish. And then this is my homemade smoked salt. And for me, it's about a half a teaspoon, but you can go more than that for you. I want to make sure that I spread it around a little bit. I didn't do such a good job on the paprika. And then I'll mix that in, and then it will be ready to load. Now the first one, I'm just going to go ahead and do with a spoon, and I'll show you that. But normally, if I was going to do a lot of eggs, I would get a sandwich baggie, and I would just put this in. For doing it with a spoon, put half of it in there, put it in, and then you'll have the egg will be dimpled like that. And then you take the other half of it and just right across the top like that. Then, to complete it, and I would normally do this all at once, you would just sprinkle a little bit of smoked paprika on the top. So that is it right there. And then I'm going to go ahead and try this one. That's great. The smoke taste is really subtle, but the addition of the smoked salt and the smoked paprika helps it. If you want more smoke taste, after you peel them, you're going to have to put them back in the smoker. And I've never really had a lot of good luck with that because the eggs will burn to the pan. So I want to show you something else real quick. So you know, I've been making eggs for days, trying to make sure that I had the best recipe to share with you. This is the same recipe here. And I do prefer them cold, by the way. Then this is my deviled egg. And so the difference between that and the regular egg is that the deviled egg has some horseradish. So it's the extra hot horseradish, and I'm going to show you what I used. But I actually like fresh horseradish better, but I just don't keep it in the house. And so it's this right here. And this here is great, but it can be a touch bitter. So you want to add something to it. And then a little bit of Frank's Red Hot. Tabasco works really well too, but there's a lot of vinegar in Tabasco, so you want to be careful that you don't compete with the vinegar you've already put in. So as for amounts, it's for 8 eggs, it's 2 teaspoons of the extra hot horseradish and 2 teaspoons of the Frank's Red Hot. And then you'll end up with a mildly hot deviled egg. If you want it hotter, go hotter there. I personally go hotter, but this is the mild flavor. And my wife said it wasn't particularly hot, so she was happy with it. So you pretty much have it all right here. And that's how you smoke your eggs. And I'm going to make the rest of these and put them in the fridge for tomorrow's party. And I hope you have a good weekend and enjoy anything. The main reason I do this video is because I want you to know that just about anything can be cooked in your smoker, and it adds that nice smoke taste to it. So is it like overwhelmingly smoky? No. It's real subtle. Everybody's going to enjoy it. And when you serve it to your guests, they're going to know it's not a regular deviled egg, and they're going to know you did something special just for the party, just for them. So things that I used in this video are in the links and affiliate links below. If you use those links, I will get compensated, so thank you. On the top level, there will be an article for the review for the Masterbuilt Digital 40-inch charcoal smoker. And so far, so good. The only complaint that I have about it is the charcoal basket itself, but everything else has been working absolutely great. And the volume of stuff that I can put in there is just amazing. And we're going to be rolling into fish season here real soon. So I'll probably smoke any leftover fish I have in my freezer almost right away. And then the next article, which I'll get to on Monday morning, will be the actual recipe and the directions for smoked eggs, which will also include a couple of other things, which will include Scotch eggs and then I can't remember what the other one is, but so I'll have these 2 recipes, and then I'll have 2 more recipes for you. So thanks for watching and have a great day.